Yeah,
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the AAA podcast. We're pleased to be back. It's been a while since we recorded, and we're also pleased to have our first guests on the show. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
I'm Julia.
I'm Kayden. Nothing else.
I like cookies and cream ice cream.
And maple bar donuts.
Yeah, and maple bars.
Kayden, what's your favorite ice cream?
Definitely just plain chocolate.
Okay, and?
It depends on the day, but probably mint chocolate chip or cookies and cream.
I was gonna go mint chip. It's the goat
You
flavor.
get the best of both worlds with cookies and cream.
I think it's mint chip.
Hear me out. Cookies and cream and chocolate ice cream.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's too much. But
Speaking of maple bars, how do you feel about the maple bars being introduced at the UC?
They are good. Today I had a regular donut from the Kelly Cafe, and it was pretty good too, but I think I got there too late for maple bars.
I didn't even know there were maple bars.
That was like a thing that happened recently.
Oh,
There's one.
interesting.
They're pretty good. I don't know why
The
they
baker's
make them.
upping up their skills.
I think we can allocate our resources towards other things, but... No, not that maple bars are bad, but it's just like...
Julia
Personally,
respectfully disagrees.
$7 protein shake, like... I just,
Speaking of things where we could reallocate, you guys are with us today because you guys started a club recently. Big fans of the club, the mission. You guys just want to like talk a little bit about what the Hidden Opponent is.
I'm gonna let Julia start because she's the one that found it.
So I followed Victoria Garrick on Instagram a few years ago, and I followed her for a while. And she's the founder of the Hidden Opponent, so I just saw like info about it through her Instagram, and then I followed the Hidden Opponent Instagram, and then they had applications come out every summer and also in the winter. But 2 summers ago, I applied to be campus captain because I thought it would be cool to bring it to PLU. And it was a little bit scary being by myself, so I didn't really bring it to PLU. I just learned a lot that year just for myself. And then this past summer, Kayden applied also. And the mission of it basically is just to bring mental health awareness to college campuses or even high schools, or you can be graduated from colleges, and just spread the awareness, start conversations, just make it, like, reduce the stigma around mental health and talking about it.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, yeah, I really think it's a cool club. You know, we've gone to all the meetings, I think. We have one tonight. I think it's cool because it's like, it's been fun to get in a setting where we can have like small group discussions with like people we know. And just because like mental health is something for everybody to talk about. It's not just people who are like on the far end of the spectrum and are really suffering. And I think we can just see it by like trying to all get in the same room together. Like as student athletes, we're busy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like really hard to like
explicit.
It's really hard to like find time to like just take time for yourself because our schedules are just jam packed. And I know like you guys just came off like a crazy long soccer season, and you guys, you know, it's your 3rd year. You come early to campus and stuff. Do you guys just want to talk about like what that's like a little bit, and like I don't know how like fall is different from spring for you guys?
I like fall a lot better. I really enjoy soccer. It's a big reason why I'm here at PLU. And I like how soccer pushes me, but it is also a lot. Like how we don't have like any social life in the fall. It's a little interesting at times for sure. Just like trying to find ways to like relax and like rejuvenate and recharge is definitely difficult. You kind of just have to be mentally tough for like 3 months on end, which like no one can do. So finding ways to recharge is definitely like hard, but I like it better personally.
Yeah, I like being in season 2. It keeps me on top of things. But like Hayden said, it's a lot, especially how we have our games on Saturday and Sunday. So we don't really have like a weekend. Like our weekend is Monday, but we have school and work on Monday. So it's all gas, no brakes. But you have to slow down or it's going to crash. Right, Anthony?
Oh my gosh, you hit it on the mark. No, like, how do you, what do you define mentally tough as, and like, what are some situations that kind of, like, are examples of that?
Well, especially in athletics, like when you get to that point where like it hurts, you're tired, you want to quit, but still you raise yourself to that next level because your team needs you, you need it for yourself, so you're in a personal sport. Just like that grind and getting through the grind, I think shows mental toughness. But like the hard part about mental health within athletics is that it's like when is mental toughness and when is it just like pushing yourself too far. So I think just having that like self-reflection within yourself of when it is too far for you personally and like voicing that to your coach and within yourself is just really important.
Yeah. It's like a physical injury. Like at what point, like a little pain, like you can push through, like I can play through this, but at what point is it too much that you're going to hurt yourself even more?
Yeah, it differs by each person. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of talked about it in motor learning, not to bring motor learning, but it's like everyone has a certain threshold, and that threshold is different based on the person.
Yeah.
I guess like I think all of us could probably speak to a moment where we've had to like kind of back up a little bit, but like what are kind of your strategies when you feel yourself getting to that point where you're like kind of on the edge of just like being mentally tough versus needing to take some time for mental health?
I find that like those points are never when you're like actually in the middle of a game. They're always like the breaths like between. So like after practices, between classes, I find those are like the hardest points. Honestly, what helps me a lot is just to like cry and call my mom or just like go on a walk with a friend. Just like take time to not do school, not do soccer, and just like voice what I'm feeling and get those feelings out. That helps me a lot personally.
I really like that because I think I relate to that too, where it's like it's almost in your downtime where you're like the most stressed out and like you're thinking about everything. And sometimes you have like, you know, maybe an hour or two break in between like morning weights and a class, but it's like the break doesn't really feel like a break because you're just thinking about the rest of your day or the next task at hand. Or the big one for me is like getting out of class and you have a certain amount of time before practice, but it's like always like half the time you actually have because you spend half of it getting ready to go to practice, and then you spend the other half like at practice early or getting dressed in your clubhouse or whatever. But Julia, did you have a different answer from that?
I was also gonna say talk to my mom, or just like talk to anyone. Just like speaking it and just like verbally processing it is helpful. And also I like writing stuff down, like making lists and like allocating my time, what I need to do, because that makes me feel a lot more productive, even if in the 5 minutes it takes me to make the list, I literally haven't done anything that I actually need to do, but it just helps to be able to see it all out there. And yeah, also just like Kayden said, like take breaks. Like one analogy that I really like is if you're like trying to cut down a tree and you have a saw and you just like keep sawing at it, like you can keep sawing at it and eventually it'll come down, but if you take a break and sharpen the saw, then it'll end up being less time to cut it down in the end, but you gotta take a break.
Oh, where'd that one come from?
Dang.
No, I didn't come up with that.
For the analogies.
I didn't come up with that. I don't know where I heard it, but it's just always stuck with me. Like I'll be doing an assignment, I'll be like, I need to get this done. Like, I just need to grind this out. And I'm like, no, if I take a break and like come back to it in like 5 minutes with a fresh set of eyes, like maybe it'll take me like 15 minutes less than it would if I just tried to grind it out, which is hard to do sometimes. Like in all aspects, is like just remember you have to take a step back and then go forward again.
I hope you know I'm stealing that analogy for other things. You're going to be hearing that analogy from me.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. I didn't come up with it. I don't know where I heard it.
Oh, that was good. I liked it. Coming for Seth's job.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like any sort of like team situation set up for like if you are feeling overwhelmed? I know like the first meeting we talked about it, and like what the swim team here does, they have like their personal days that they can take over the year, and I don't think you guys have anything like that. We don't have anything like that, but just like any opinions on that kind of stuff?
I think it'd be great to implement. I feel like it's difficult in a team sport also because like even if you should take a day if you need a day, but it's hard because it's not just taking a day for yourself. Like personally, I'd feel like I was taking a day away from
like your
helping
number
my
out
team.
of the rotation.
Yeah. But it's like in the end, like gotta sharpen the saw. But yeah, I think it's a great like concept, and we should look into it more. Like talk to other schools. The Hidden Opponent, we have our own little like group of Hidden Opponent schools in our region, so we always like bounce ideas off each other and like see what they do. So maybe talking to them about it would be good.
Yeah.
I think also like one thing new we did this year with our team is we had every 2 weeks you had like a 5-minute meeting with one of the coaches for like feedback. But I almost think like instead of that, if we almost just got in small, like if we had designated small groups within our team and we could just like reflect within like our own teammates, like not with the coaches, I think just like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
That'd
just
be
extra
great.
time to like connect and debrief outside of just the game. Because like you do that with your friends, but like it would be nice to like do it across the team, I think.
Yeah, that's
I know,
good.
it's something I've been kind of thinking about.
Yeah, like Ron said, how at the meetings it's nice to talk to like people you know in a small group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of
Well, I like that idea too, because I think like my experiences during a season, like when you reflect after games, it's really just with the people that you're like really close with or you live with. Yeah, getting together with like the full team and like mixing up what groups you're talking to. I think that's good. I think on the other side of things, though, you have to have a coach that's like willing to maybe like hear any ideas that pop up in those meetings. I think that's where a lot of people run into issues. I think a lot of coaches like to treat every year and every team like it's like the same thing, but each team like is going to need different requirements, and maybe one team needs a bit of an easier schedule to succeed, or more like check-ins or whatever it may be.
I think that's where you just have to like voice for yourself and also have like supporters with you. Like everybody is struggling with something and needs something. And so just like being strong and like this is something I really do believe in. I think that would be important. And then also with that having like a good team culture established, cuz like if you have a team culture where it's known that people cheat corners like here or there, then if you give a team personal days, they're probably going to use those to their full advantage. But if you have a team culture established where it's like, we are 100% bought into this, into the process, we want to succeed, then if you give like these opportunities, people will use them for good, and they're not going to cheat with them. So you just have to establish that first too.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's the big flaw that I've thought of like through that first personal day. Do you guys like ever feel like you have freshmen that come in that are on that kind of like I'll get away with what I can area, and like do you guys ever feel like you have those freshmen, and then how do you like deal with that as a team, or is that not really an issue you run into? You don't have to call people out by name. Please don't.
I feel like we don't.
Please do.
I don't think it's a freshman thing. I think it's more of returners.
Okay.
That, if anything, that have like been there and like maybe they're growing tired and like maybe they're even debating on quitting, which is like fully okay. Do what you need to do, but like
freshmen come in eager, like they want to.
I see.
Prove themselves. I think.
Yeah, especially it's like just the way our season is scheduled. Like, I don't know. There's no ways that you like can really bring down the team that much as a freshman, unless you were just a really awful fit for the program. But I haven't seen that.
I got a question, like, and maybe you don't have the answer to it, but when do you think is like the breaking point of like, I could give you two scenarios, and two people might pick two different areas. So, like person A, it's like fake it till you make it. Like you're at practice, you gotta give it your all. You can't show how you feel. And then you have the person who does like show how they feel, how they're like mentally feeling. I guess like two people could say each one is right. And what do you think about that? Like what's the point to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it does happen. Like some people tell you, hey, you should always go around like showing how you feel. And then some people will say, we need you to be bought into what we're doing at practice today. So you got to put whatever happened today aside and just go and practice.
I know this
That's
is
a good
hard
question.
one.
I think if you, that's a good question. I feel like you kind of have to know yourself, and if you choose to go to practice, then you're at practice, like focus on practice. But if before practice you are just like, I just can't do practice today. Like if I go, I'm not gonna be able to give it my all. Like I'm gonna be distracted.
If you can't fake it.
Yeah. Then like take a day and like be like more emotional, like you said. But if you know yourself and you're like, no, like I can do it today, like go and kind of fake it till you make it. Because I mean, you always have stuff going on, whether it's like just a test you're thinking about or something bigger than that, then you're going to have distractions. So you kind of have to fake it every day almost.
Mhm.
But if it's too much, then
Maybe it's almost like fake it till you make it is kind of the right way, because like in the end you're there for your team, part of the process. Like you can't be thinking about these other things and your emotions, or else you're just not going to be able to focus on your game. But it's like, it's fake it till you make it. So like when you get to the point when you can't make it, then you should probably take a step back and be like, okay, I'm going to share that I'm not well right now.
yeah.
Maybe that.
I think like it's the term like emotional labor, and I learned it in like my sociology of emotions class. And they use the example of like flight attendants who have a lot of emotional labor, so they have to put on this like fake persona because they're treating passengers on a plane and they're paying a lot of money and whatnot. They were talking about how like the emotional labor is so high, and there's like studies showing that it's even higher than people who do physical labor like construction. So, but it's hard because I feel like we can't quantify that.
Yeah.
I feel like when coaches or people can't quantify or see something, then it's like, we'll just leave it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's also like if we're developing like the technical and tactical skills in practice, like there has to be some type of mental health skill or aspect, because there are mental skills to help you while you're in your performance.
That's where, like, I don't know if spring or winter sports does it, but at the beginning of fall season, we have, like, these meetings and stuff. There's the NCAA eligibility one. This year we had a nutrition one, which, like, I really liked. That's more and more becoming a really important part of being an athlete that I just didn't realize. But then I think it would be, like, really beneficial to have, like, mental health trainings as well. So, like, a part like that. And then just, like, hopefully with THO, the hidden opponent, we have, like, more consistent just conversation throughout the semester. Maybe it's not even team specific, but just like an avenue for people and create ideas within PLU.
Yeah. That's why it's the hidden opponent, because you can't see.
Thank you, Julia.
I've never thought about that, you know. I just thought it was just the name.
For
Actually?
reals.
Yeah, I've never actually thought about the name.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had another follow-up question. So why do you think people are not as, you know, we talk about how we want to like light up the mental health and athletics thing. Why do you think people don't see it as like the cool thing when they see like compared to physical development? If that makes sense. Like for example, like working in the gym, I could see a lot of people wanting to show up for weights, but then when it comes up, you know, something, a mental health topic, it's like maybe not. Like why do you think that is? Why do you think there's that stigma?
I feel like it's hard because, like, when you're in the gym, you can see your results, like, very, like, with your eyes. But mental health, it's more of a, like, a different scale almost. You can't really see. You just have to feel it. So it's hard to dedicate time to something that you won't, like, see results for, like you would if you went and lifted a lot.
And, like, changing your mindset is really hard. Like, changing the way you think and, like, talking to yourself is a skill that's like it's easier to practice something like physical with your hands in the gym or like learning a lift, but like learning how to like talk to yourself within your own head is just like really hard, and you have to very intentionally practice it. And it's just, I think a big reason is like because it's so hard, so people don't necessarily, like, I don't know, it's hard to do hard things. like sometimes people are hesitant to try things that just seem really hard.
And I think it's interesting because you can't see it, sometimes it comes off of something as like they're just technically good at the skill. Like they're like, for example, like, oh yeah, so and so is really good at soccer, but like negates the whole like mental factor of the sport, you know. And like you said, it's a skill, so you can't microwave success, and the results won't come after one day, you know. Just how you going out to the soccer field, like the results won't show in one day. And I think that's something that people understand, and it like I don't think there's no real test to see like, oh, did I mentally get better? It's like, again, something you have to self-reflect on.
I think another thing like related to that is like we see a lot of times the physical aspect being like required of athletes, like mandatory weights or 3-hour long practices that are like filled, you know, with drills and whatever. Yeah. But like we never see like mandatory like mental health stuff.
Like, there's not, like, mental tests.
Exactly.
Like, you have a fitness test.
Yeah,
Um,
2 times a week, mental skills training.
And so it's like we're devoting, 6 days a week, 3 hours a day to like the physical side of our sports, and then we're designating 0 minutes to the mental side of things usually. And I think there's just like a big, like the scale's so tipped. And it's like you can take a little bit out of one bucket to put it in the other to help balance it out a little bit.
Yeah. And then, like, a big part of, like, or, like, you carve practices into your day for, like, fitness and, like, physical stuff. But, like, almost where you practice and learn about, like, your mental stuff is just by, like, living. But you need, like, the tools given to you to, like, know how to, like, adjust how you react through life. So, yeah, I agree. Like, just having more opportunities where it's, like, you learn how you could change the way you think.
You say something?
I think also the stigma around showing mental weakness is a lot bigger than showing physical weakness. Like, if I'm like, oh, I'm not very strong, like, I want to go to the gym, like, no one's going to be like, oh, you're not strong. But if, like, I'm like, oh, like, I just, like, need to day, like, just focus on mental health, and people are more afraid to, like, admit that than being physically weak. Even though they're both very common. You get better at both.
To be, what do they call it, devil's advocate, do you think if people were given mental health days, they'd abuse them? Like, if they didn't actually need them?
I think certain people
Yeah,
definitely would.
That's the hard part. Like Kaden said, you just have to, like, I think it depends on the team, just like our culture of like we're gonna use this for what we need it for. Like, it's not just like I like watching Netflix last night. I need to study for my tests now during practice. Like, that's not what it would be for. Which, yeah, that's a good question.
It's just like, I mean, part of mental toughness is being able to like have the discipline to like do what you want to do. So it's like do what you need to do, not necessarily what you want to do. Yeah. And so it's like
our coach
if
says
you're given sorry.
No, I interrupted you.
And so if you're like given these opportunities to cut corners, like if you cut corners in other areas, you're definitely going to, and there's always going to be those people. So you just have to hold them accountable somehow. I don't know. It's just like you just have to have the right mindset.
Yeah, I was just going to say our coach says mental toughness is the ability to focus on the next most important thing. So it's like your test, you got to focus on it.
I think maybe there's like a self-sorting aspect there where it's like at this level where we don't have a lot of resources, we're expected to do a lot of stuff on our own anyway. And so I think the people that like cut corners then would also cut corners on like the free days.
Yeah.
And it's like I think generally those are the people who like aren't going very far within their sport. I think for people who are really like committed and they play and they work really hard to play, it's like those aren't going to be the people that do that. And so I think there's a certain point where like if you try it for long enough, there might be some self-sorting that happens, and the stragglers kind of just get pulled along with it. But
yeah.
I think also just like you guys said, it depends on the team culture, and it's every team is so different there.
But then at the same time, it's like the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So it's like, how long do we keep pulling this person along?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it would take a lot of honesty.
Yeah.
Like across, like in like communication between different people. Of it's like everybody talks about that person that's always cutting corners on your team, but it's like actually telling them like, look, you're creating a problem within our team. You need to check yourself or leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I think that conversation could be had more. Like,
yeah.
Not necessarily within our team, but just, like, in general. I think honesty certain times would go a long way.
Yeah. There also has to be just a level of trust of, like, that if you take a mental health day, then your teammates just know that you're not doing it for other reasons.
Right.
Like,
and I think that's the hard part with, like,
yeah,
those
it's not
two
measurable.
messages.
You can't be like, oh, let me take your mental health. Okay, you're too low. Okay, you can have a day. Like, you just have to trust that person, like, is doing it for the right reasons.
Oh.
I mean, some people say they're sick and they're not. So it's like.
But I think that's what makes it hard is because, like, if you have that system set up, like, you can't really call people out because they're taking mental health.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. No, I don't think there's any perfect or right answer. I think that's like the hard part, and why I think it's so important to have conversations like this and just kind of talk through it.
Yeah.
I think you definitely have to have a lot of conversations just with your team before
Yeah.
doing it. Like, more
Yeah.
than just, like, the coach bringing you up and saying, here, this is what it is. But having conversations like this with the whole team so there's, like, a line established. But also trust what you say.
I think like the thing about coaches in general is like they want results now. Like they want to see the progress now. They want everything to happen at this moment. And the problem with that is just like if player A needs a mental health day and they're at 80% today, it's like instead of just digging them down lower, like you said, like why not just give them the practice off and they come back at 100%? Like I'd way rather go through game situations with my good players 100% than 80%, and just like, but they want to see it now. Like they want practice to be really good today. It's like, why not have everyone recharge and like you said, like sharpen the saw and just come back the next day at 100%? And it's like to me, it's just stuff like that just doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And, like, I feel like our team kind of grew into that this year. Like, our coach gave us, like, a day off one time. And, like some people are like, oh, he's gone soft on you this year. And at times I feel like it was really helpful. But it's, like when I feel like it has to be per person because also at times I feel like it was to our detriment. Like, I almost think we could have been sharper and could have been stronger. But, like, yeah, I don't – it's such a balance. And, like, the whole team doesn't necessarily need, like, the same thing. So it's, like, the whole team doesn't necessarily need a mental health day, but, like, a couple people probably really do. So, yeah.
Would you guys, if there were, like, requirements outside of, like, practice to go to certain mental health things, would you feel like that would make it worse or better? Because it's, like, just adding that much more onto your schedule, which we, which are very crammed anyway.
It's a very interesting question because you're like some people are like their mental health is derived from schedules being busy, and it's like you're adding it in to being busy. Yeah.
Like a training or like
I don't
like therapy, like a personal therapy thing.
I think more just like a training thing, like someone that's gonna talk to you about like strategies to cope. And then you can go and seek your own...
Like mental health skills training.
Yeah, right. Something like...
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that I would, and if I have the time, I definitely would. But if I have like a physics test tomorrow and there's also this, like, I'm like, okay, like I need to study for my... Like, it would stress me out to go. But that's the thing, like, then do you make it required? Because then it's like, okay, more stress. But then when stuff's required, then I'm like, gonna go to it. Yeah, it's hard. It's almost like you have to work it into, like Kayden was saying, like just like 5 or 10 minutes before practice or something, like work it into an already existing schedule. But then like it's only 5 or 10 minutes, so.
Or have it like optional or there for like those that like need it extra. Because like so there's times where you're like, I really do feel fine. Yeah. No. I think that would personally, I wouldn't necessarily want to feel forced to do that. Because, like,
what if
you have to be, like, fully bought into, like, it.
Would it change if it was, like, it came from, like, the school? Like, all athletes took, like, a class every year.
Like, if plus 100 was a
something like that. Do you think that would change things? Like, you would get credits for taking the class, and it would just be kind of built into your schedule every week or every other week.
I would be interested in that.
Yeah, I would take a class.
I'd like that way better than plus 100.
Yeah, they should replace that. You should go tell them.
Or, like, an option for that maybe instead of, like, PE. Like, PE 100, how it's, like, wellness and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, fit well.
I would way rather learn, like, actual useful tools than whatever that was.
Was that where you, like, learned how to play, like, a sport a week and you had, like, quizzes about the rules?
Well, we had, like, a requirement to work out, like, half an hour every day, but I was already doing it for, like, soccer or whatever, so it was, like, pointless. Like, I wouldn't even go to the, like, workout sessions because I didn't need my half an hour.
And it was, like, overall wellness because, like, it is known, like, wellness is not just, like, physical. It's, like, a lot of different parts of you. And, like, we would talk about it and learn about, like, we learned about the grief cycle, but, like, just none of it was really actually useful.
I think I blocked that class out. Like, I remember my teacher, but I don't remember anything else.
Yeah. No, I think I would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah, it feels a class.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go to somebody about that. I just had that idea, so it was...
I mean, then we wouldn't need the club. Like that's kind of what we're trying to fill, is we're trying to, like, create this, like, maybe place, like, where we have some resources for people and, like, we're sharing them and talking and creating conversations. So it's like, yeah, if someone else is, like, doing that and it's more known and established and there's, like, more funding behind it, like, that would be awesome. But I don't necessarily know if you could make it, like, required. I don't know. I would like to, but, like, not ever. I don't know.
It's hard.
That's a hard question.
It'd be nice, too, I think, to just have, like... I mean, okay, this is, like, maybe the worst way of looking at it, but, like, if it was worth credits, like, some sort of class for athletes that's just, like, a GPA bump. You know, like, as long as you're going and, like, participating, like, you're not stressed out about a grade.
Like, they would be bettering themselves and getting a GPA boost.
There we go. Yeah. I guess speaking about GPA, do you guys ever feel any, like, pressures, whether it's from your team or just, like, in general for, like, grades? Like, do you guys have, like, grade expectations for your team?
Mm-mm.
So personal.
Yeah. No one even really talks about it, like, at practice or anything.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. Like,
Yeah. Do you guys?
No, like, we're expected to do bad kind of thing. Like, our coach, like, there's, like, the standings after each year, and he, like, keeps us updated about them, but it's, like...
They tell everyone's GPAs?
Like, team GPAs,
Oh,
yeah.
Like, they rank them, like, football got, like, a 2.0 or something.
I know, like, some sports have, like, really... Like, that's kind
Like
of
swimming,
built into the culture.
gets,
It's like,
like, a
you're going to
lot.
get a 4.0, or you're not going to be...
No, Seth is...
It's really not a part of
That's
our
good.
culture. It's just, like, you do what you do.
Yeah. As long as you can stay on the team, you're chilling.
I think that's something that's kind of been getting weeded out in the last, like, 10 years. Because I used to hear about, like, especially for women's sports, just there being, like, really high expectations for grades.
Yeah.
There probably is at other schools, but not here.
Yeah, not at PLU.
I can imagine at, like, Ivy Leagues or, like,
More
like the little
prestigious
Ivies, the NESCACs that are, like, D3s. I can imagine that's pretty intense. But, yeah. Even Pomona, I feel like, would be like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're lucky. That would cause more stress. Be a good athlete, and you have to get good grades.
Yeah.
Here's something.
No?
I was gonna ask. Actually, I was gonna ask and basically just add on, but I think, again, like we're going to this like quantitative like era, which means like we love numbers. Like we use numbers to facilitate our decisions. And I think one of the things that I see a lot, especially going forward, is people using numbers as like one, someone's identity, and then like two, using numbers and forgetting that people have emotions. So I remember like Zach told me a conversation about how like you wouldn't like be able to take the body fat percentage of every single athlete, even though you could make like the argument that, hey, we're doing this for the better of your athletic career. But it's like, okay, but when that happens to an athlete, there's a certain like emotional and mental aspect that comes out of it. So it's like, yeah, you can do it. Like, yeah, you can take your team's body weight. We do that. Like everyone's body weight is posted in our clubhouse. But it's like, all right, yeah, you might think it's worth it, but what about the emotional, mental aspect of these athletes? Then is the juice worth the squeeze at that point?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can't quantify that, and that's where it becomes dangerous. You have to understand humans and understand people and their emotions.
That's a huge reason why, like, so many cross-country runners, especially females, like, had severe eating disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become talked about a lot more now, but it was, like, a huge problem for a while there because, like everyone's body fat was, like, tested, and you're faster if your body fat's lower and you're smaller, but then after a while, you're just not. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, soccer's kind of nice because there's not as many, like, numbers. And, I mean, there's, like, stats, but it's a lot less comparative than other sports. And I know of some teams that, like, the coach will, like, rank the players and stuff, which is an issue of its own. But do you guys rank your...
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think this is where, like, I don't really
that.
know Seth that well, but I think this is where, like, from what I do here, like, he kind of, I think in my mind excels, is, like, he does a really good job of not assigning like numbers to players and just like tracking that. Like I think he does a lot of like analysis of people as, you know, practice goes on. It's more about like performance and then like relationship like to people on the field, like how well you guys connect. Where, not to speak to anybody's program, sometimes it's just like strictly like how much are you pushing your numbers to go like up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of dictates where you fall in rankings, which is like a whole like
Yeah.
like you just said, like it's not just numbers, it's people, and like you have to understand the message that you're sending when you assign people a number. And it's effective in some situations, but you have to have like safeguards around it. And I think when you don't, it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
And like some soccer teams, they'll have like bibs that people wear. I think it was like a sports bra, and it like tracks like their heart rate, or I don't even know all the like the fastest
track-
they run, or like
Catapult.
Farthest sprint,
yeah,
stuff like that.
and like maybe Seth would do that if we had the money for it.
Mm.
But I think that also just like you said creates more just comparison within a
Yeah.
team, and like just more like is that necessary? Like
I think it's a hard conversation because it's like it's probably really helpful for the sport, and
Yeah.
like
it can
if-
show like where like areas that you
Yeah.
might not
Or
even
maybe-
know you're lacking in.
maybe
Yeah.
like if the coach received the data, but like the players don't, or like you receive your own data, but like
yeah,
nobody else's. Like there's no comparison. Or,
I think like
I don't know.
verbally and constantly just like pinning everybody against each other isn't gonna like create an environment where like you all are gonna go far.
hmm
Like obviously there's natural competition. Like when Julia and I play the same position, like both of us want to be on the field,
Yeah, and they're
But, like, we're-
roommates.
but we're still like best friends off the field.
Yeah.
And Seth doesn't come and tell us like, okay, which one of you is gonna be better today? Like,
yeah.
like I don't think that's beneficial. But like natural competition, like we're athletes, we live for that.
hmm
But there's like an extent like I don't think rankings and stuff like within a one team, like I don't know, I just don't see where that benefits you.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like that takes a certain amount of like maturity to be able to do that, because there's a lot of people who can't do that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people who can't separate like their practice competition and then like being friends afterwards.
Yeah.
Like more than you think. Like I see it all the time,
Yeah.
you know, and like it's like you try to coach an athlete and like you get on them and they think that I hate them for some reason personally. It's like when I'm really trying to make them better.
Yeah.
And so it takes two to tango. Like it takes the person receiving the information to understand it's not personal, and like I'm just here for you to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's again, it's the thing of like I want it now, and I can't look down the road because I can't see where the relationship is going to be. You know, in a couple hours, I can only see it sucks now, and I hate you, and you know what I mean. So I don't know. Again, like it takes a sense of maturity, and for some people, you can't ingrain that in them.
Oh, definitely. I've definitely seen that.
Yeah.
I hate you. Kidding, all love.
Aw.
Do you guys do like a lot of like scrimmaging? Like, does he like split teams up and like you guys just play?
Yeah, that's
What's-
like the only, like his like compare, like he doesn't like directly compare, but
Yeah.
he likes to divide us into teams based on like starters,
That's what I was gonna
subs,
ask.
and then like people that don't sub in the game.
You know if you're on first, second, or
Yeah.
third team, which was something new that I hadn't encountered until college.
Yeah, me too. I think next year he's gonna go away from that. Maybe
No, I think it's still going to exist. He's just not going to do it every
as
practice.
much.
Like,
Yeah, this year we did a lot.
No, like in the end, we are in college. We're at like most of us the highest level of soccer we're probably ever going to play. Like
Yeah,
if we want to do well, like we do have to actually like be mature about it at some
Yeah.
point. It's like if you don't like where you are, like work at it. Like you can't just complain about it.
it makes sense because like you need to learn to play with the people that you're gonna play with in the game. Like soccer's a lot about like knowing like Kayden's strength, like kind of predicting what she's gonna do when she's get the ball, like how that affects me. But it also makes sense to like mix up the teams because then everyone gets to play with everyone, and like the freshmen get to play with the seniors, and like just like benefit from playing with someone who's been in the program longer.
hmm
Like there's just a lot of variables that go into making this decision either way.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think like this is the level, whether you're D3 or D1, where like the game kind of becomes like more of a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like now there's more than just like people having fun on the line. There's like money on the line and there's like funding. And so I think, yeah, it's hard to like, you know, I just talk about like splitting starters versus like bench people up. It's like, yeah, you wanna your starters to play with each other as many reps as possible. But then, like, you look at it from like a senior versus like a freshman point of view. Like seniors, like it's their last year. They kind of understand that it's kind of become more of a business. But like freshmen who are just coming in and just getting like auto thrown onto this like B team,
Yeah.
it's like you don't really understand the nature of it yet. And I think that can be like kind of detrimental as well.
Yeah, and they were probably one of the best players in their high school or their club team, and then you just all of a sudden come to a new team and you're now at the bottom of the pack. Like that happens up like most freshmen. It's a very quick change of like ranking, standing, like just social.
A lot of learning.
Yeah, and patience.
You go from like the really good person on your team with okay backups to like now you're like a backup and you have two really good people in front of you. Like it's like three people deep of like pretty good college level athletes when before is like I'm the starter and like those people are okay.
Yeah.
It's a big change. Yeah.
That's where I think it would be beneficial, like have honest conversations like throughout the classes too, just so like people can, just like say like, I didn't know it was like this way, and you're like, yeah, it is, and it's like, yeah, we're all like we're all dealing with it, like it sucks, but like I was in your spot at some point, like hearing it's like I was where you are, but then like the freshman can see where that person is now, like I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I think it starts with like a two-way conversation of communication. Like it can't be one way. Like for example, like I gave this talk to this freshman plus 100 class. Half were asleep, half were on their phones, and it's like, don't you want to learn something? Like I came here to help you out, type of thing. So it's like it doesn't matter if you blast them all at them because they're just gonna be like, oh, this is stuff I've heard before. And like when it comes to like the mental health talks and people's like reasons for like not going, it's like you're gonna have children one day. Like you might be a coach one day. You have siblings. Like it's not only about yourself. Like it's almost this selfish attitude of, I'm not really dealing with it right now, so like there's no reason for me to go. But it's like, what about the people you're gonna impact throughout your life? Like why does it have to be about you right now? You know what I mean?
It's like involving people's lives at this point. Like
right.
Suicide rates are just going up and up. Like my high school is seeing like an epidemic of suicide these days, and it's just like why? Like what is happening? Like what can we do about it? And it's like, I mean, the most you can do about it is just like talk and learn and like connect with those around you, because like it's not like there's a pill you can take for suicide. Like it's like a very difficult, very real thing that has like reached almost everyone, and I don't know, it's just like it sucks, and there's no easy answer, so that's why we have to like talk about it.
Yeah, it's like just let people know it's okay to ask for help, and like it can get better. Like, yeah.
You have like a big. No, you don't have to answer this question. You have like a big mental health, like thing that has happened to you, where it's like just a big explosion of just craziness. I mean, you don't have to share like specifically, but I don't know what's like your example of that happening.
I feel like the biggest thing that's happened for me was sophomore year track, and track definitely affected me a lot more mentally. Like it's a solo sport. Like I'm more of a soccer player than a track runner. That's just who I am. But I had these like big goals. Like I wanted to get this place in state. I wanted to break this time. Like I was very number oriented, and I had these big goals, and like I could have achieved them. And halfway through the season, I like rolled my ankle. Like I like almost broke my ankle, and I couldn't compete for like 2 weeks. And like I tried to come back, and I felt like I was back, but I just like obviously wasn't. And then I like fell in my race in state finals, and just like was nowhere close to achieving my goals that I achieved, and felt just like a failure, and like didn't even know if I was gonna go back out for track. And my mom was the coach, and like she even felt like she had failed me, so like we just talked about it a lot, and I just had to like really readjust how I approached the sport, because like for a second there I just like I was approaching it wrong, and I wasn't having fun because of it, but in the end we do this because we're having fun. So yeah, that's kind of one of the main things that's happened to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like I had the same experience with track, but track also just was a lot for me, and I didn't really have very much fun, even in high school. But I would say, like, just, like, mental health-wise, it's mostly been, like, my experiences with people around me that, like, wanted me to, or that why I wanted to, like, bring the hidden opponent to PLU. Like, it hasn't necessarily been, like something big that happened in my life, but, like, in high school, I had a friend that was struggling a lot, and I just, like, getting to know her and, like, seeing her side of things, like a side that I had never seen before. And then, like, our freshman year when Jordan Taft died here, and just, like Kayden said, like, realizing that this is, like, a really big problem. And, like, my own mental health journey has been, like, much different level than that. But I think that's also just realizing that there's, like, it's a huge scale of, like, where people are at, and just being aware of that and knowing where you are and how you can help people that aren't at the same place that you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What about you guys? Do we get to ask you questions?
We kind of touched on it earlier. I think Julia, I kind of relate more to, like, your side than anything. It's just, like, I think my, like, whole approach with my sport and with school in my 4 years here has, like, changed drastically since when I first came in and I was, a freshman eager to, play, versus now I'm a senior and I kind of know my role on the team. And yeah, just, like, talking, especially last year, like, I was trying to kind of help some of the underclassmen just kind of, like, find their bearings in their first year. But just talking to, like, everyone in general, and just, like, a lot of people have the same, like, feelings and thoughts that you do, but maybe they don't really have any, like, model to, like, of a path to follow, like, through those difficulties. And so just, like, hearing other people's stories and how they kind of relate to how I was feeling, like, I just wanted to learn more about, like, how to help people navigate that. It's, like, partly why I come to the club, just to hear other people's ideas and kind of talk about, like, how other people have navigated through their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I've really had, like, a really big event myself, but, like, little small events that I've found my way through, and I want to help other people who are along that same path kind of navigate.
Yeah, definitely.
Just yawning, so it looks like I'm crying, so sorry. But
It's okay.
It's okay to
let it
cry,
out.
Anthony.
Injuries for me. Yeah. Injuries have been a big one. It's the reason why I love doing what I'm doing now. And my injury happened during COVID, so, like, wasn't seeing anybody. So I'd get, like, fake emotional happiness, if that makes sense. Like, I'd watch other people do things that made me laugh because I couldn't, like, connect with actual people. So, like, that whole, like, era is, like, a whole blur to me. Like, I don't really remember it. But man, it's, like, to me, it was honestly, like, if I could quantify it, it'd be, like, 80% mental.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it took someone, like, sitting down with me, like a physical therapist sitting down with me and having a conversation and referring me to, like, a mental skills coach who both, like, had like a degree in psychology and sports psychology to, like, talk about that stuff. But also, like, it took that conversation to, like, flip the switch in my mind with stuff like that. But, like, I mean, it's the reason the second time I got injured here, it was like I called my advisor and I'm like, get me out of sociology. I'm switching over. Like, I don't want people to feel what I felt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think, it's not, I think, talked about enough, like, the mental health behind just injury itself.
Yeah.
Injury
Coming
sucks.
back.
People kind of get just, like, left for dead, and it's like you have to work so much harder to even get back to where you were before, and you can't play your sport, so you're isolated from, your main source of probably getting away from stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Injuries are hard. Your world stops and everyone else keeps moving,
Yeah.
and you're just, like,
Nothing
trying to
about
catch
it.
up, but you can't.
Yeah.
Like, especially in college when your goal is to develop from your freshman to senior year, it's like you just, especially, like, a major surgery, it's like you hit a halt. Like, you literally have 1 year taken off of any, like, you probably went backwards, honestly. It's not like you stopped, you probably went backwards. And then, like, I brought this up at the last meeting. I was talking about how, like, when you have a physical injury, like, you have a physical therapist who treats you like biologically, but then like you don't ever go or have like a mental health or mental skills professional that you go work with. And it's like that doesn't make sense because to me, again, I make this up, but it's like to me it's like 50% mental, 50% physical.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like imagine if next to the athletic training room there was like a mental training room, and like
Yeah.
you could just
Or-
walk into either one, whatever.
Or they were both.
Like
Yeah.
Kennedy.
Yeah, the same room.
Kennedy, our advisor, like one of my favorite things still she said, it's like when someone's bleeding, it's like, okay, go to the trainers, you're bleeding, you need physical health. But like, and you can tell when someone's like bleeding mentally. You can tell when someone is like not always great. I mean, obviously you can't always, but sometimes you really can. And it's like not as normalized to be like, hey, I don't think you're doing well, you should probably go see someone about that. Like that's like some people take that as hurtful, but it like really doesn't.
Yeah. Or
It
they're
isn't. It
embarrassed.
shouldn't have to be.
Yeah. If Ken's like,
And I wish
"You're
that
bleeding."
PLU had that like bigger resource.
Yeah, you don't get embarrassed about like needing a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
So like,
I think on the other side of things, and I think this is just like a change in the culture of you're not a kines major, right? So
she wants
our
to be a
world.
doctor though.
Oh, okay. So all of our world is like.
Dang, you know, he's like on top of you down here.
I think there needs to be an expectation from like the health field that like people are also getting trained in mental health stuff,
Yeah.
and that like your job isn't only to like fix someone's physical ailments. Like there should definitely be requirements and expectations that like even a trainer in the
Therapist,
training
yeah.
room is like has some sort of knowledge about
gotcha.
Yeah.
helping people, and they don't have to be like therapist level,
Yeah.
but at least like
Yeah.
start people down
Just
a
like have
path.
it in the curriculum for whatever
Right.
degree they have.
But I feel like it turns into like one of those I had to go and it was like a 1 day thing. You know, like I bet like I'm not that's probably a thing, like for our coaches. It's like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they get past the sheet,
Yeah.
they look at it and it's like, oh, okay, like yeah, I already know this. It's like, yeah, but you don't ever apply it and you don't ever like think about it while, you're putting together the practice schedule or you're putting together the week in advance. It's like
Mhm.
it's like you can know something and not apply. And I think that happens a lot. And I've brought it up multiple times about having a like some type of like sports psychologist here. Now it's not like exactly mental health, but it helps in that area. And it's just like it's like a no. You know?
Yeah.
Especially at our level. I don't even know what it looks like at D1 level, but it's like you have the nutritionist. Like there's 4 nutritionists at big Power 5 schools, and it's like what about what actually matters?
I know.
Yeah.
Like I have friends who go see a sports psychologist, but like you have to pay for that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a while where there's a lot of things in the medical field to where like you couldn't what do you call it when you like you get a service but you don't actually pay for it out of hand.
Free.
Yeah, well basically
I don't know what it's called. I know what you mean.
like there's a lot of mental
Yeah. It's like
Watching
surgery.
Okay, get
it's
this.
not like it's not like code. No, I don't know. Anyways, but there's a lot of we don't realize it till later. Like like why didn't we ever do that? Like why didn't we make this free earlier? With someone's healthcare plan.
Yeah.
And I feel like again, it just comes back to like we can't see it. It's like, well, yeah, but once someone takes your life, then you can see it.
I
And
know.
that's
It's
the
like,
point.
and then it's too late.
Yeah, and then it's like.
Yeah.
Again,
Not
you
for
have
everyone.
the one talk where it's like, remember you have all of this and this and this. It's like, yeah, but where was this like throughout the duration of everything?
Yeah.
No, I kind of think about it often, talk about the Jordan Taft situation. It's like, we had really good resources here for 3 months afterwards. And it's like, I'm sure we still have them, but they're not like promoted as much anymore. And it's like where did it go kind of thing, Like
Yeah.
that level of support for athletes and
Like
just the whole
constantly.
student body should always be a thing.
Mhm.
But I think once again, since we can't see it, people kind of get lazy and they forget that it exists until until it's too late, until something big happens. So, anything else?
Not really. And I think it also starts with maybe implementing even like the high school level.
Mm.
I'm really trying to get my brother to input it at get him
he
up
should.
to
There are
apply
high
and bring it to
schools
my high
that
school.
do it.
Yeah, because it's like if you get to college and it's like, oh, I've never really done it, so there's no reason for me to start it now.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was. Like I've used the counseling center before, and I was I was scared. Like I was scared to go. I was like, I don't know who this person is, what we're gonna do. And it's like it was just a conversation, but they've learned to be able to like conversate with you to get stuff out. Not in a bad way, but like I think that needs to start in the high school level, and like you kind of like have a counselor, I guess, but like here there's just so many more people.
Like
and
these
more things
conversations need to happen at lower levels, and they
Yeah.
can, like, because people's feelings are real, like at
Yeah.
all times.
Especially we talked about like the transition from high school to college, just like being a lot and like some like you're feeling on top of the world and all of a sudden you're on the bottom of the world, and it's like having the resources in high school to have them during this transition would be really helpful for people, and just navigating that, like having already known everything.
Good.
Yeah.
I guess like my last note is like I wanted to like thank you guys for taking like an action step, because we talk about like how important it is to talk about things, but it's even more important to like actually implement them and do stuff. So really good job creating the club, going and doing something. It takes a lot of guts, and thank you for that.
We're glad that people are responsive to it, and we hope it doesn't die with us.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it going.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, Julia, Kayden.
Thank you.
Big round of applause.
Thank you, AAA.
Thanks for listening, everyone.